decision making, the kind of action needs to be taken while we are executing the code, and that particular action decides with which particular condition rest of the code will go. So hello guys, welcome back to Python, the series of basics, and today we talk about three decision making statements: if, else, and else if. So let's directly get down to Python 8 and see how all these three decision making statements work. Let's see.
The first one is if statement, which means that in if statement we're gonna go through one particular condition, and if that particular condition fails, then it will bypass that particular loop. So let's try to understand this using a flowchart. So here's a flowchart. In this flowchart, we're gonna input some number from here. So when a number is go down through this loop and there's a condition applied, let's say for a moment condition is like number is greater than 10. Okay, number is greater than 10 and we are inputting a number at a moment like say it is 8, and when this number go down through this loop, right now it didn't fulfill the condition because the number or the demand of condition is that number needs to be greater than 10. So instead of going through this way, it will just bypass this loop in that particular direction, and that's what the if loop demand, and without even outputting something it will directly bypass that if loop. So let's write down the code for that and see. Let's create a two variable called a and b, and we put them equivalent to some certain integer. Let's say equal to 20, b equivalent to 30. Now we're gonna do what? We're gonna apply if statement to these variables and say if a is greater than b, then print b, and we're gonna do this. Now let's run this, and we know that this is not gonna be fulfilled because we know that a is smaller comparable to b. So let's run it, and you see it didn't output anything, which means that it will just bypass that loop. So that's what happened. Now if we want to output something, even this condition failed, for that we're gonna use what? We're gonna use else loop. So let's try to understand that using some infographic. So here's the if and else condition. Now what? Initially we put a one, only one condition, but here there's a one another condition in case if condition failed. So same thing is over here, same condition over here. We're gonna put some number into this through this way, and let's say again that's very same condition. Now what happened when the number pass down through this way, and it will go down through a condition like number is greater than 10, and if that condition fails, then it will go down to this. And here, instead of bypassing or without outputting something, there is a one certain thing it needs to go, and that's called body of else statement. Whatever is in the body of else statement, that is going to be printed out. So what I mean to say, so if the if statement fails, so then it goes to what? Else, and print what? B is greater than A, and let's run it again and see it output v is greater than a. Means when one condition fail, it will go to another condition and it will output that particular thing. So this is about if and else. Now what if we want to introduce some extra condition within these conditions, and for that we're gonna use what? We're gonna use else statement. So let's try to understand else statement using another flowchart. So here's the if and else statement flowchart. So according to this, here we can apply three or even more than three conditions. So first condition is going through this way, and second condition is going through this way, and third condition is going through this way. Now it depends which condition fulfill, it will run according to that. If the first condition fulfill at very first attempt, it will directly go down to this way. In case both of these conditions, if and else if fail, then it directly went down to the else statement, which is certainly gonna run. So let's create that using code, and over here now we introduce a else condition, right? Saying that to say if a equivalent to v, and for a moment let's change the value of these variables. Say it is equivalent to 20. Now let's say print same, and let's run it. Now it output both numbers are same because when it go through first condition, the if condition, it will fails because here that saying that a is greater than b, but instead of checking to the another condition, it will go to elif condition, which means that check that condition, then if it is fails, bend on to the else condition. So this has happened in if, else, and else if case. Now let's talk about some nested conditions. So basically it's pretty similar the way we talk about nested dictionary, and that very same thing is going to happen over here. So in Python nested dictionary, we generally going to talk about three things. First, we're going to create a program by inputting an external number using input function, and then we run down through some conditions or if or else if condition, and after that we're going to output according to that particular condition which satisfied. So let's say input number, and we're gonna say number equivalent to what, int, because through input function whatever we accept it is in the form of a string. That's why we put int in front of input and say number, and let's run it. And through this we're gonna get a number, and that number is assigned to that num variable. And now we're gonna run down some conditions. Say if num is greater than or equal to 0, basically we mean to say if number is positive, then we put another condition. Say if num is equivalent to 0, means here there's another condition put it saying print 0. Now if we say that if num is equal to 0, we're gonna output 0, and else otherwise if it is not equivalent to 0, otherwise it's a positive number but it's not a negative, because if it fulfills the first condition then it must be a positive number if it is not a 0. So we say over here in the else condition we say print the number is positive, and let's run it. And now time to define a final condition. Now what if the very first condition fails, that if number is not even greater than or equal to 0, if it is a negative, then there's no meaning of the rest of the condition. For that particular condition we're gonna put an else statement saying else number is negative. Now if the first condition fails, then number is surely be negative. That's why, because otherwise it will fulfill, it will go down to these conditions. So let's run it and see. Now it says that enter number. Let's enter number like 56 for a moment, and see the number is positive because the number is not even equal to 0. It will go through a first condition, then it move to the second one and saying number is positive. Now let's run it again, and this time we enter negative number, say 34, and let's run it, and it says the number is negative. So this is how all these three loops or three conditions really work. And basically all these conditions are heavily used in Python when we are dealing with some larger function or we are trying to create some larger code. And that's all about these three basic decision making statement. If you guys have any questions, please let me in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.